All right, folks. Well, I'm going to start you off in the action, and the action started, well, just about now. We are on East Woods Skirmish. It's 1776 mode. This is an American attacking map, usually Union. When we're doing 1862, we're over on the far right side of the map where the Americans have embedded themselves right up against the map boundary. There it is. And so hopefully they can keep their flags if they, if they know what to do. But yeah, the Brits don't want to allow the Americans to embed themselves in here any longer, respawn anybody in, and just constantly make this a pain. Where is the 4th American Company? Okay, it's still up there. It's going to try to shoot into the back of the Brits across that field. The Americans here seem to have weathered that charge much better than I thought they were going to do. I don't know if the group that came out in the field had support from those who were in the corn. Maybe they were just the first wave, and now the corn wave is coming. But these flags are, each one of them is spawning somebody in probably every 5 seconds. I guess the Americans never turned around to notice. Okay, so now the Americans will get a bunch of out-of-formation deaths. And now I think the Hessians have broke through. The Americans need to get their flags either out of bounds, as this gentleman is doing, or he needs to run it back, as this one's doing. Yes. Well, okay, but not what that guy's doing. Yeah, no. Okay, oh, he recovered it. Can he recover it and stay out of bounds? We'll find out soon. It does, yeah. Whatever. It's early on in the map, and so now this company is very lonely, right? That was a great-looking volley, though. Holy moly. All right, well, they found a friend, and so now, I don't know if this is dynamic duo or not, but they are going to be moving out. They feel like they've pinned the Brits back pretty far on the right with all that action, and now they're going to look to steal a march to pretty much that tree is their destination. But the juncture of this fence, it would not be bad to hold. It looked to me like the Brits had the inside track. And honestly, the Brits have a fine backup plan, even if they weren't going to get there first, and they are going to get there first. Yeah, they have this. Absolutely correct. Every part of that.
Yeah. Run up, gentlemen, run up. Get to the bench, quick, run up.
Yeah, so he's going to try to deny it. We'll see who has loads here. I don't know. The Americans did not seem ready for that. The fence is nice because it kind of just forms a default line, whereas for the Americans, it's, well, I got to run up in front of the guy in front of me to shoot. And then the guy behind him has to run up in front of him for that guy to shoot. And so, there's a potential there for a lot of friendly fire. Now, were those two British companies? Yeah, so you see the two Hessian groups back there in the corn. So the Company of the Line and the Grenadiers, they are here first. That is, in fact, if you're new to this, this is an American flag. 1776, that's the British one. Yeah, these companies of the line seem to get real big, and I don't think the Americans liked that at all. They almost got it. They almost got to that corner. They had to get there about 20 seconds earlier, but they did not. They did succeed in pulling the entire Hessian team over here. Were there any Americans alive to go the other way? I don't see any officers. Alright, so some of the Brits want to pursue that. Yeah, it's not gone great on the front end. The Americans might have to continue pulling back. I thought there was an opportunity maybe for the other two American companies if they were up. Here's the Brits pushing the Americans down the fence. If they were joined by the other company, they could for sure push the Americans back. They might do it anyways by themselves. Now, all 4 American flags are here, so that British company, if they don't get reinforcements soon, they're going to be in trouble. And so they are wisely pulling themselves back to the fence, and so that they're not sticking out in front of and without friendlies. I think that's the right move. So, yep, very nicely done by the British side early on, stopping the push on the far right, eventually shoving it back, and then mirroring the Americans as they move down. Again, this is also the right move. You're going to go back if, you know, you're the kind of designated far left on the British side. You always want to make sure that you have the inside track as much as you can to cut off the Americans if they move over there. All right, so the Americans are going to travel as a wave. Again, you can do it, but it might be a little challenging. Well, the Americans have opted to trade volleys here, basically in their spawn. While they do have a ticket advantage, I'm not sure that that's going to go all that well for them. I'm not sure they're going to hit that much, and they do need to burn the defenders' tickets down quickly. And I'm not sure they have the accuracy to do a ton of damage. I mean, we can see that certainly damage is coming in. Alright, so the Americans have made the decision they're going to go for the right side again. See if they're able to get it. Alright, so if the Americans stand up here... Alright, so the Americans want to volley from here. Who knows if this is actually like a smoke screen to start a pre-mask a larger movement, or if the Americans just think that they're going to get a favorable ticket trade here.
Company, make ready. Present arms.
But you can see that yellow flag. You can also see, because almost everybody and their brother that's in that corner there killed that Rambo who ran... I think they killed that Rambo who ran up. It's going to be a real challenge. Beulah? Yeah, the Brits have one flag that's all the way at the back of the corner. That is quite the volley. Then again, when you got... What do we got? 193 to 200? Yeah, you got almost 200 men in 4 companies, and there's no artillery. This is what you get to do. I don't know. I'm not sure that this is going to do it. They may not have had great experiences pressing up before, but it doesn't look like they're doing enough damage fast. Oops. Okay, so there's a big old British company over there. I don't know if there's a group on the left here that's going to be able to deal with this. We will see. Alright. They're probably going to get mowed down here because they're just basically walking into either an L or a V, maybe soon to be a U. And they basically are the targets on the shooting range. They're going to lose a ton and take very few. We'll see if the effort up there reverses things. It doesn't look like it. Looks like the Brits are wise to it. If they have loads, they're going to shoot them. If not, they're just going to melee them. And yeah, this is not going to go well. On the front end, the hope as the attackers is always that you make it up on the back end. Alright, they got the flags here. But you can see, so the Brits just go engaged. The Americans are already a third of the way through it. And the group that made it up here is now getting countercharged by the Hessians. Yeah. Not going well at all for the Americans. So there's going to be a reset and maybe back to the drawing board for the Americans. Alright, so the Americans have finished respawning and they're back to volleying in front of the artillery pieces that they can't use. Very interesting because the first time I watched this map, I think it might have been as soon as the servers went live, it was East Woods Skirmish, and it It was right. It was, I'll say razor close. It was very close, but the Americans won, and they were able to get into the woods very early, and they did a ton of damage. Again, it's not as if the British didn't have a chance. They did make it more interesting than it probably should have been, but this has been a completely different story. That is very weird. You can see kind of where the ramrods are like appearing to be there, but they're not. It's like right there. Oh, that is so weird. When I zoom in, they go away. It looks like his ramrod went through his head. So who knows? You know, it's a patch. There are bugs. There's been quite a few moving parts and a lot of people with those parts recently. So who knows what it really is. Alright, so the Americans don't like how that went. I think the Brits are going to see exactly what the Americans are doing here.
23 minutes and engage.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, if they were going by my clock, I would say you got about 7 minutes to get the Brits to taking losses. Then after that, maybe 10 minutes, 9 minutes to get them to breaking. 7 minutes to get them in the last stand. I think they got to figure out how they can get close enough to the Brits and just continue to shoot with them. So we've had one group decide that they're going to move up and they're going to be dispensing some lead, and the others are going to move behind them. My guess is that, yeah, see, that's the problem. The Brits understand here how you kind of just... For them, they're playing laterally. And when they do that, the Americans are always in front of them, and then they just use superior ground and weapons that are great at close range to beat the Americans back. As the Americans might find here... I guess the only hope the Americans would have is that the Brits would be a bit too slow. They have 2 Hessian units back over there in the corn. The Americans don't have any, but the Americans have further to go. And it's you know, it's different for the Hessians because they already have friendlies who are in the spot. And so even if there's a melee, and we're going to go check it out, or a hot shootout, or whatever it is, you know, having friendlies there...
Not charging right away.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Sometimes the Americans stop shorter than this, and there's a bit of a defilade there. The Americans are moving, but it looks like they're moving backwards on our right side of the fence now. That will mean that, yeah, now the Americans on the left side of the fence look like they're doing the same. Brits want to pursue, and they're going to pursue at an angle here. Maybe trying to shoot around the defilade. Was that my officer? Americans about to go taking losses. Brits only a third of the way through engaged, so the Americans are going to need a big turnaround. They've burned a lot of time off the black timer themselves, so I'm not sure if they'll be able to do that, but maybe. Hmm.
Alright, they're back right. Shift back right, gentlemen. Back right, back to the right hand side of the fence.
You can see the Americans trying to get thick on the map boundary. So right up against, very nice looking volley. Huzzah. Well, you can kind of see how the weapons, I get it, to some degree the artillery, they make it a line battle, right? At least I think it does. You know, one company can't go it alone against several others, and I guess they were getting bored. They probably suspect that they're going to win, and so, you know, why not? Americans are really behind here. But we're under 17 minutes. Brits are only halfway through engaged.
Check.
I don't know if this group has set itself up as bait. That is a thick line. That is a very thick line. But the Americans either can't or won't press. And they're almost in a spot where they got to kind of desperately try to capture the point early and just fight over it for a while and get the other tickets down. I don't know how they do it. I think this one's going to be too much of a challenge, but I'll bring you back if we have some new action. Well, at least they're going to volley.
Shot us.
We'll show you volleys. That I'm kind of here all for that.
Push up too soon and waste all our rounds on, like, nobody. If they wanna waste that time over here, just let them. It's all right by me. Just sit back here. I'll move you up once they start to charge. Let them waste their own time.
Brits in
Right.
no hurry.
Let them waste their own time.
Guess the Americans are just gonna creep like they can take 10 steps after every volley, and that's gonna do it. Unfortunately, the volleys don't come quick enough to be able to do that, so they're gonna have to move up a little bit more. I mean, the companies are so large, you could just divide the companies. If you had an NCO or someone, or just give them a line, and you know, each company can move up one half at a time every time they volley. It would certainly be a lot quicker than the way the Americans are choosing to do it. But you would do it that way so that you're never caught without a shot. You'd always be able to do something. But we're looking real low here on the timer. To the Americans, I guess to their credit, they've stopped losing tickets, but that's just because the British have stopped shooting at them. That'll usually happen. I'm glad that I have most people muted. I don't think it would be probably very friendly right now to the American officers and NCOs. Although nobody really ever blames the NCOs or anything for what happens. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't ask questions. It's just the way he went. It's a letter and a sketch home to his family. This is exactly how he died at the East Woods Skirmish.
Wait.
But yeah, if you're not really sure where the other side is, I think dividing your company half and half. The Brits definitely had stuff to shoot at. Wasn't even watching that company closely and I saw the holes open up here. So this is an absolute masterclass, at least in 1776, to how you play it as the British. And look at them just dropping. At least the Americans had their volley, so they could eventually do something. Don't reload while kneeling in an open field, unless you are 100% in cover, or darn near close to it. It is true. I can confirm they absolutely are. Those Americans, they're not going to fare much better here, I think, after the next volley. Yep. Yep. Rough. But we're all here for the volleys, I think, in the line battling. Usually people are like, oh, you can't get a line battle in pubs. Well, I don't know if they were trying to, but they got it. Be interested to see. So apparently 1776 works with every mode except picket patrol. This might be the best movement since the opening of the game for the Americans, but even then I don't think it's going to go well. That second company doesn't have much to offer. The one that came in here, that company, either the company of the line or the Grenadiers, you know, they had nothing else to do, so they're going to come down here and help their friendlies and get some action. But that's going to be over real quick. I don't know, maybe the Americans are looking for a moral victory somehow. Wow, flag dropped back there and nobody got it. Oh, maybe they just like spawning in Maine. I don't know. And remember, anytime you think your life is hard, imagine theirs. Because they could be surrounded. If the British wanted to, they could box them in on three sides, and their only path of retreat is through the open field that way. So, it's good cover if you only have a small group in front of you at the fence. Otherwise, it's one of those islands you can't get off of. Alright, so we can say we did. We'll do some line battle angles from the Americans over here. Man, I'm getting just terrible frames. Like barely cracking 40. I don't know if it's the shadows with the smoke in the background or what it is. I turned everything down from like the highest to just regular high. I mean, what do you have to... Honestly, if you're the Americans, you've been way too passive. You have 7 minutes and a full morale stage before you go final push. And then once you go final push, that's it anyways. Yeah, it went horrendously, but what did you expect? Well, at least the Americans made it to the fence this time. The, oh, well, we'll just do it. It's not working well, but, oh, well, it's all 4 American companies. I didn't know that. I thought it was still 2v2. Which made that more impressive. It's now not as impressive, and it's more impressive that the Brits held in the way that they did. But when the side has to come to you pretty much through an open field, and you got a lot of quasi buck and ball. Oh, it's buck and ball. It's just quasi 42s and buck and ball. Even if it's not as accurate as it is in 1862, it'll get the job done. And it's the old quantity has a quality of its own, and as the Americans found out. All right, maybe there'll be one final reset, and at this point, with 5 minutes left, final push doesn't even really matter for the Americans because they're probably going to be under the timer, which I think is around 3 minutes on this map. But we can at least watch the Americans trade volleys with the Hessians. Who have now decided to stop. Alright, the Americans claim that they're going to charge. Why not? Actually, yeah, why not?
Get ready, get ready.
Bayonets down!
Bayonets down to show me you're ready with reloads and bayonets down.
I think he's in the wrong game mode. Alright, we'll watch Last Samurai over here. We can see the other charge in the distance. These guys, I think, were supposed to be the sacrificial lambs for the main charge down the road. And I'm guessing the goal is to just hold that company there. And then the Americans are going to try to concentrate 3 companies here against what you see in the corn. And it might be hard to see, but the Hessians in the corn, redcoats that are body blocking point. I guess the Americans took all their flags in. That...
Old man commandeer.
What?
Right, lads, back to... Oh, it's alright, don't charge him, don't charge him.
Alright, so the Americans decided it's just maybe Bayos and go, or something and go, but you can see them just pouring out of spawn. They know there's no point. I think if they attacked maybe a little bit earlier so they actually got to use final push, they might have got the Brits into breaking, but the Brits just looked solid this round. Again, it shouldn't be a hard defending map. It can get a little chaotic when you have different companies coming forward, moving backwards, and side to side. You can lose track of one and not the others, and sometimes that can cause problems for the defenders, but yeah, not a great final push, but well, folks, at least it's over. That is just brutal casualties right there. I mean, for East Woods Skirmish, not like Nicodemus Hill.